The other day, there was a video that came up from the Commonwealth Flipper channel, which he mentions the direction of eBay. I'm going to link his video up there. He has a good channel. He has some good content. I think my analysis is a little bit different than his. I've been reselling 2.5 years, going on 3 years. Right now, I did notice that my selling limits actually did increase the numbers to 5 million, as he mentioned. Previously, before they raised it, it was at 500,000. So the total dollar amount that I could list was capped at 500,000. Even for me, doing this about 2.5 years, constantly listing, having over 4,000 items in my store, I did not hit that limit. There was no way for me to hit that limit until I list maybe 10,000 items. And then I'll be on the borderline of where I would need to raise the limits of the total dollar amount of goods in my store to maybe 1 million. So those numbers are kind of like arbitrary to me, and for most resellers, I think it's going to be arbitrary to them. They will never hit those numbers. You wouldn't be selling enough, even in volume, to actually hit those numbers. If they were trying to help out the sellers, they would reduce the fees. That would be one way. Another way would be, there is a store that I have. It's a premium store. Reduce the cost of that, or increase the number of lists that I can post on there from the premium store side. See, the thing that doesn't make sense for me is that those numbers, the 5 million and a 1 million item cap, does not make any difference when you already have a cap from the premium store side. So if you're paying a fee of $50, if those numbers are not being increased rather than this arbitrary number is being increased, then it makes no sense. Let me just show you what I mean. So right here, I have 10,000 listings that I can list for free. And it's a premium store. I have about 4,500 items in my store. And even with the 4,500 listed, you can see that my dollar amount is at 325,000 only. The only way you're going to hit this is actually if you have really high dollar items. If you're selling only high dollar items, that's the only way this number will affect you. But think of really, really high dollar items where you may want to sell, where it may be that one-time seller or a seller that does not have a lot of a feedback, things like that, where they want to post it and then get it sold. Another place would be like, think of Christie's and Bonhams, the real high dollar auction markets. People that work in those type of spaces, people that are able to sell like high dollar items, it would make sense to increase their limits, even if they sold once or twice, to a high dollar, like $1 million, $5 million limit. Now, where I see this affecting eBay is, or the changes that they're also making is, think of Yeezys, think of Birkin bags, things like that. Even though they're not up there with the $1 million, you're thinking about like 10,000. Think of like collectible watches, where one item may be $10,000. So if you have like 10 items, that's $100,000 right there. And those are things that people may be able to find in the wild. They may want to list, maybe their family member passed away, things like that, where they don't have any type of selling history, but eBay is going to provide like an authentication system, which they are already implementing. So if they have an authentication system where they're charging the fees to the seller, or which is going to be passed on to the buyer, now that makes sense. That's where they can get the fees, they can get their money. Costco, the price of gas. So the price of gas here is $4.07 for the regular, and $4.30 something cents for the premium. So even reselling for about 3 years, until recently, I did not even know what a Birkin bag was. I did not know what a Yeezy is or was. I kind of know a little bit about them now because of all the reselling, people talking about certain items, and me going to the auctions and stuff like that, looking through the online auctions and seeing how certain things are being priced and going for. But You know, even for me right now, even though I kind of know what those are, for me to know what it is, I would have to try to look at all the details, all the little stitching and stuff like that, which, you know, out in the market, if I were to see it in the open wild, I would never know, kind of. So I would have to, if it was cheap enough, I would probably get it and then maybe make a gamble on it, but there is no way for me to know, right? So if I do find one in the wild, I would get it authenticated, and then eBay is providing the service of where they're authenticating items for the buyers, right? Even if I was a seller that had zero feedback from the buyer's point of view or perspective, it would be like, well, eBay has the foremost authority on this type of item, this type of category, and so they're able to authenticate it. So I don't have any qualms about purchasing from this seller that has zero feedback or a few positive feedback, because the money is actually being tied into the eBay system. It's not going to be released to the seller until it's been authenticated and sent to the buyer, right? That's how I see it. So more and more categories may be in the higher dollar limit. It may be getting a run over through their authentication service, as eBay maybe pulls in more and more people that are authorized to actually authenticate the items, as they become maybe more expertise in authenticating the items. Then again, they're going to charge the seller the fees to get it authenticated through their system, getting the foremost experts in actually trying to draw the experts into their platform. And if they're able to do that, then guess what? If I believe the experts are on eBay's platform rather than Christie's, I'm going there to sell my items. Actually, I would say kind of like for those really high ticket items, eBay really does not have an audience. They do and do not. It's like a catch-22, because a lot of people buy at Christie's because it is an exclusive club. It is like one of those things, prestige type of thing, where, you know, kind of like it's established, things like that. Those are one of the reasons why they can command those high prices, as well as they have the audience for it. There's a less of a stigma of buying things online as opposed to a brick and mortar store. As time progresses, it may be like, you know, they may be able to compete with Christie's. Not really, because of the prestige factor, but again, they can go one level down, and maybe still pick up those items that may not be on the high-end elite tier, but the second level down. High ticket watches that go for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. Rolexes, people find Rolexes. Collectible memorabilia, like maybe a game worn jersey of Michael Jordan, sign, whatever it is, you know, things like that. If you're able to find those, which are rare, I'm not saying you're gonna find it every day, but like Yeezys, things like that, you know, those numbers could actually add up really quickly. But I know certain things like those collectible things are sold on eBay, maybe not for a huge amount, as in the millions of dollars of ranges, or maybe it is in the millions of dollars of ranges, but like I've seen some like sold for like 100,000, things like that. I don't know, again, like how the laws apply and how the paperwork and all that is established or worked out. But if you have like one of those or like a couple of those, the 5 million, the $1 million limit, things like that will apply to that seller. Other than that, for most of the 99.99999% of items that most of us resellers actually use and have an average sell price of maybe 50, sometimes we do find like a couple of thousand, but average price is going to be like 50, maybe under. These $5 million limit numbers will not apply to any of us. If eBay was trying to help out the regular sellers, they would be actually reducing the fees to the subscription. Alright guys, like and subscribe to this channel and all that jazz, and I'll see you next time.